Have you ever looked at broken glass or old tree roots and thought they were nothing but waste? What if I told you they could become stunning borders, cozy patios, even tiny rainforest corners in your own backyard? That's what we explore today on Simply DIY, where small ideas spark big transformations. These images are pure inspiration, not instructions. If you love them, make them your own using what you already have. And before we dive in, I want you to know this. Maybe to you, I'm just another face on a screen. But behind this content is a real story, a real family, and a dream. Every like, every comment, every subscribe keeps that dream alive. Thank you for being here, and thank you for seeing me. Imagine stepping into a small backyard, where even the simplest objects have been given a second life. Here, old glass cups that once sat forgotten in the cupboard are reborn as tiny hanging gardens. Each cup holds a different story, one filled with bright basil leaves, another overflowing with mint, another glowing with a soft trail of ivy that dances in the breeze. The sunlight filters gently through the glass, turning the soil and roots into a living artwork. This is more than just decoration. It is a way to make the tiniest of spaces feel alive, a reminder that even with little room, you can create beauty that grows day by day. Hanging these glass cups on a wooden fence, a simple pergola, or even along a balcony rail brings freshness to places that once felt bare. And because the cups are transparent, you can watch the roots stretch down, reminding you how life finds its way quietly and patiently. The charm lies in its simplicity. You don't need expensive pots or a wide garden bed, just a few discarded cups, strong rope, and a handful of soil. Choose herbs if you dream of plucking fresh leaves for tea or cooking. Choose flowers if you long for color in the morning. Or choose succulents if you wish for something resilient and calming to the eye. Each choice will add its own rhythm to your little sanctuary. In these small hanging cups, we learn that even in the smallest yards, beauty has no limit. What matters is the heart that tends to it. There is something quietly magical about walking along a path framed not by concrete or wood, but by glass that once was destined for the trash. Here, old jars have found new meaning, standing proudly in the soil as a living border. They catch the sunlight like little lanterns, each one reflecting a soft glow that shifts with the time of day. Some are filled with rich earth and bright blossoms, marigolds, petunias, pansies. Others cradle fragrant herbs that release their scent when brushed by the wind. Creating this kind of edging is simpler than it appears. The jars are placed halfway into the ground, sturdy and secure, forming a line that feels both natural and deliberate. Painted in soft hues or left clear to reveal the soil within, they bring character to the smallest of spaces. Imagine a narrow backyard, once plain and quiet, now given rhythm and life by a row of shining glass guiding your steps. This is the beauty of upcycling, the act of turning what is forgotten into something that feels alive. A discarded jar becomes not just a container, but part of the garden's heartbeat. It is inexpensive, accessible, and endlessly adaptable. And perhaps the most rewarding part is the feeling it brings, the sense that you have shaped your tiny yard into a sanctuary, using nothing more than your hands, imagination, and care. There is a certain poetry in sitting on a chair that was not built in a factory, but shaped by nature itself. A tree root, once hidden deep beneath the soil, now rises into the light and becomes part of a home story. Sanded just enough to sit comfortably yet left raw at the edges, the root carries the memory of years gone by, rain, sun, and silent growth etched into every curve. Placed in the corner of a small patio, it feels less like furniture and more like a piece of living sculpture. What makes a root stump chair truly special is its uniqueness. No two roots grow alike, which means no two chairs will ever look the same. One may twist into natural armrests, another might form a wide seat, while others offer surprising textures that invite the hand to trace them. You don't need complex tools to begin, just patience, gentle cleaning, and a touch of polish or oil to bring out the natural grain. The result is more than a chair. It is a seat that invites you to slow down, to sip tea in the quiet of morning, to rest after a day's work, or to simply listen to the birds while surrounded by ferns and orchids nearby. Adding this to a patio corner transforms an unused space into a sanctuary of calm. And perhaps, most beautifully, it reminds us that nothing in nature is wasted. Roots that once held a tree steady can now hold our moments of peace. In the heart of a small backyard, a tree's story continues even after its trunk no longer reaches the sky. A massive root, shaped by years of growth underground, is lifted, cleaned, and given new life as a bench. It rests quietly beneath a canopy of green, its surface smoothed just enough to welcome you, yet rough enough to remind you of its natural origin. Sitting here, you can feel the gentle connection between earth and time, as if the root itself is whispering the memory of rain and sun it once carried. Designing a root bench does not require perfection. In fact, its beauty lies in imperfection. The twists and knots that might seem awkward at first are what make it captivating. By simply polishing the top and leaving the rest as it is, you allow nature to remain the main designer. Adding small details, perhaps a row of flowers at its base or a cluster of ferns around it, turns the bench into more than seating. It becomes a centerpiece, a gathering place for both family and quiet thoughts. This kind of project is not just about recycling wood. It is about slowing down and creating a backyard corner where you can pause, breathe, and watch the day unfold. A root bench blends seamlessly into the garden, as if it always belonged there. And when you sit on it, you may realize, comfort doesn't always come from cushions or modern design, but from being held by something that has already stood the test of time. There is a quiet kind of magic in the sound of water. When it trickles softly from the mouth of an old clay jug, it feels as though the garden itself begins to breathe. A simple vessel, once used for carrying water or storing grain, becomes the heart of a small sanctuary. Tilted on its side, decorated with gentle patterns or left raw with its earthy tones, the jug spills life into a basin of stones, moss, or even a small pond where flowers bloom along the edge. The beauty of this idea is how simple it can be to create. A clay jug, a small pump, and a little imagination are enough to bring movement and music into a backyard. The water does more than cool the air. It attracts birds, invites butterflies, and adds a rhythm that soothes the mind. Placed against a bamboo fence or among ferns and orchids, the fountain blends seamlessly into its surroundings, giving your tiny garden or patio the feeling of a hidden rainforest retreat. And while it looks elegant, it doesn't require a grand budget. The clay jug itself can often be found secondhand or even repurposed from storage. The flow of water can be gentle, never overwhelming, so it feels natural, like a spring you stumbled upon in the wild. Each drop is a reminder that beauty does not always come from new things, but from reimagining the old. In a small corner of your backyard, this fountain can become a place to pause, to sip tea, and to listen as the world slows down around you. Sometimes a garden fence feels like an empty canvas, waiting for a touch of personality. And what could be more striking than clay jugs transformed into pieces of art, each one carrying bold tribal patterns that tell a story of culture and craft? Hung against a wooden or bamboo fence, the earthy tones of the jug merge with vibrant hand-painted lines, spirals, diamonds, and geometric strokes in black, red, and white. Together, they create a rhythm across the garden wall, as if the fence itself has begun to sing. The process is both playful and rewarding. Old clay jugs that may no longer serve their purpose can be cleaned, primed, and painted with acrylics or outdoor-safe paint. You don't need to be a professional artist. Simple repeating shapes, dots, or lines can already make a powerful impression. Once finished, sealing the design will help protect it from sun and rain, letting the colors remain vivid for years. Placed at intervals along a garden fence, these painted jugs turn a simple boundary into an outdoor gallery. And when paired with flowers blooming below, marigolds, roses, or even herbs, the effect is even more enchanting, blending nature with handmade art. What was once just a plain divider now becomes a backdrop for beauty, a reminder that creativity thrives when we dare to look at old things with fresh eyes. On a quiet patio table, a small universe begins to take shape inside what was once a discarded glass bottle. With a little soil, a handful of moss, and the tender roots of tiny plants, an ordinary container is transformed into a living world. Each terrarium tells a story, one filled with succulents nestled among smooth pebbles, another alive with ferns stretching toward the glass, another shimmering with dew as if it carries its own morning inside. The beauty of this idea lies not only in its charm but in its accessibility. Anyone can begin with what they already have at home. Empty jars or bottles that might otherwise be thrown away can be cleaned, shaped, and carefully layered with sand, soil, and small stones. With patience, miniature gardens come alive, needing little water yet offering constant joy. They are perfect for a small patio where space is limited, serving both as decoration and as a reminder of how even tiny corners can flourish. Placing them on a table where the light gently passes through the glass makes the plants glow, almost like lanterns of green. Each one can be designed differently, some lush and wild, others simple and minimal. And when grouped together, they create an atmosphere that feels calming, artistic, and deeply personal. It is proof that nature, even in the smallest of forms, can bring peace to any space. As evening falls, a backyard transforms into something enchanting with just a touch of light. Along the fence, old glass bottles are reborn, glowing softly from the solar bulbs placed within them. Some clear, some green, some tinted in shades of blue or amber, they catch the night in their curves and scatter it gently across the garden. What was once a simple boundary now feels alive, almost like a string of lanterns guiding you through a quiet path. Creating this effect requires little more than imagination and care. A few discarded bottles, cleaned and polished, can be fitted with solar lights that charge during the day and awaken at dusk. Mounted along a wooden or bamboo fence, they offer a glow that is not harsh but warm, wrapping the backyard in a sense of welcome. The lights dance on nearby leaves, glinting off petals and casting shadows on stone pathways. It feels intimate, like a private retreat you might stumble upon far away, yet it is built right at home. This project shows how beauty can emerge from the simplest of things: trash turned treasure, glass turned light. It doesn't demand electricity or high expense, only a willingness to look at what you already have and see its hidden potential. And when you sit beneath their glow, perhaps with a cup of tea or in the company of friends, you may feel that your small backyard has become something much larger, a place of peace, of warmth, of memory waiting to be made. In a small garden, where space feels precious, a coffee table made from a tree root can become the heart of the setting. Its form is never the same twice, sometimes twisted, sometimes broad, sometimes almost sculptural. The top may be polished smooth to cradle a teapot and cups, but the base is left raw, showing the journey of the root through soil and stone. To sit beside it is to be reminded that nature itself can design better than any craftsman. Making such a table is less complicated than it appears. A sturdy piece of root, cleaned and treated, can support either a wooden slab or a piece of glass as its surface. The result is strong yet elegant, rustic yet refined. Surrounding it with flowers, herbs, or ferns makes it feel even more alive, as if the garden and the furniture breathe together. Imagine enjoying fresh fruit from a basket on this table, or resting a book while birds sing nearby. The simplest of rituals elevated by a piece of reclaimed nature. This is not just furniture. It is a conversation between indoors and outdoors, between what was once hidden underground and what now stands proudly in the open. It proves that with a little effort, we can turn what might be discarded into something lasting and meaningful. And in a tiny garden, where every corner counts, a root coffee table offers more than function. It offers warmth, character, and the gentle reminder that beauty often comes from the most unexpected places. There is a quiet joy in stepping outside and picking fresh herbs just a few steps from your kitchen. Imagine a simple wall, once plain and overlooked, now alive with rows of glass pots. Inside them, basil stretches its leaves toward the sun, mint releases its fragrance with the slightest touch, and rosemary grows tall and steady. Through the clear glass, you can even see the roots weaving through the soil, reminding you that growth is both visible and hidden. This idea is perfect for small patios and tiny yards where space is limited but the desire for freshness is endless. By reusing old jars or glass cups, you create a vertical garden that saves ground space while bringing greenery upward. It is practical. You always have herbs within reach for tea or cooking, and at the same time, it is beautiful, turning a bare fence or wooden frame into a living wall. The process is gentle and rewarding. Clean the glass, secure it to the frame or wall, and fill it with soil and your chosen herbs. Add a touch of sunlight, a little water, and soon you will have a wall that not only decorates but also nourishes. It feels like having a small farm tucked into a corner of your home. And as you pluck a sprig of oregano for your dinner or mint for your drink, you may realize that the true luxury is not in having a big garden, but in creating a small one that gives you exactly what you need, exactly when you need it. A patio can feel ordinary until the edges are given a touch of imagination. Picture a row of glass bottles, once discarded, now standing proudly as a border. Each one painted in bright shades, blue like the summer sky, yellow like a field of marigolds, green like fresh spring leaves. Lined neatly along the patio floor or pressed gently into the soil, they create a frame that is both playful and practical. The charm of this project is in its simplicity. All you need are bottles, paint, and a bit of patience. The bottles can be coated in enamel or acrylic, left in solid colors or patterned with stripes and dots. Once dry, they are pressed halfway into the ground, secure and steady, forming a cheerful edging that costs little yet transforms the space. It is especially fitting for small patios where every detail matters, where color and light bring life to corners that might otherwise go unnoticed. Beyond their beauty, these bottle borders also serve a function. They help separate the patio from flower beds or pathways, creating a sense of order without losing creativity. And because each bottle can be painted differently, no two borders will ever look the same. Some may glow softly in pastel tones, others may sparkle with bold hues in the afternoon sun. The result is a patio that feels welcoming, handcrafted, and full of personality. It is a reminder that beauty often hides in what we throw away, and that with a little effort, even trash glass can brighten our days in the most unexpected ways. There is something enchanting about the way a clay jug, simple and timeless, can hold the essence of a rainforest. When filled with damp moss that spills over its edges, ferns that unfurl their delicate fronds, and orchids that rise with gentle blossoms, the jug becomes more than a container. It becomes a small world of its own. It feels as if you have captured a fragment of the jungle and invited it into your tiny garden or patio. The idea is both practical and poetic. Old clay jugs, often left unused, can be cleaned and given new purpose as natural planters. Their earthy tones blend perfectly with green foliage, while their rounded shape helps retain moisture, creating a cool environment that moss and orchids love. Adding a touch of water each day, especially in warmer months, keeps the miniature ecosystem thriving. Place the jug in a shaded corner, perhaps against a bamboo fence or beneath taller plants, and suddenly the space feels cooler, calmer, alive with quiet beauty. This kind of planting doesn't demand wide ground or expensive materials. It thrives on creativity and attention, reminding us that even a tiny space can hold vastness if we look closely enough. With every new leaf, every bloom, the jug whispers of the rainforest, wild, lush, and endlessly renewing. And in the stillness of your backyard, that little corner becomes a sanctuary where you can pause, breathe deeply, and feel as though nature itself is reaching out to embrace you. There is a certain charm in letting nature itself shape the boundaries of a garden. Instead of manufactured stone or metal, imagine using branches and roots, gently intertwined, to mark the edges of a small yard. The curves are imperfect, yet that is what makes them beautiful. They rise slightly above the soil, holding flowers and herbs within their embrace, as if the plants are growing inside a cradle made by the earth itself. This kind of edging is simple to create and requires nothing more than what might already be lying in a nearby field or forest floor. Collect slender roots or branches, weave them together by hand, and press them firmly into the soil. Over time, moss may grow between the gaps, softening the lines and adding to the woodland feel. It is inexpensive, sustainable, and surprisingly sturdy. In a tiny garden, where every inch of space matters, this natural edging adds texture without overwhelming the scene. Beyond its practicality, it carries a sense of storytelling. The branches once supported trees. Now, they support the shape of your garden. The roots once held earth in place. Now, they hold beauty in place. And when you step back and see a flower bed framed by this handmade border, you realize that you've invited nature to design with you. It feels grounded, calm, and deeply personal, an edging that doesn't just divide the garden but ties it together in harmony. A divider does not always have to be built from wood or metal. Sometimes, the most captivating walls are born from clay. Picture a row of jugs, each one slightly different in shape and tone, stacked together to form a low fence that both divides and decorates. Some stand upright, others tilt playfully, their openings cradling blossoms that spill over like little waterfalls of color. The sunlight moves through the gaps, scattering soft shadows on the patio floor, creating patterns that shift with every passing hour. This project is as practical as it is poetic. Old clay jugs, often set aside or forgotten, can be arranged in layers with surprising stability. A touch of soil inside each one allows you to plant herbs or flowers, turning the divider into a living wall that offers privacy without feeling heavy. The beauty is that no two dividers ever look the same. Your creativity decides whether the jugs are stacked evenly or left with gentle irregularities that make the design feel organic. Placed at the edge of a small patio, this clay jug fence does more than separate space, it enriches it. On one side, you might enjoy a cup of tea, shaded by greenery and flowers, while on the other side a tiny garden grows in peace. It is inexpensive, imaginative, and endlessly adaptable. And in the end, it proves that a boundary does not have to be cold or rigid. Sometimes, it can be warm, earthy, and full of life. There is a certain wonder in creating a world so small it fits within the palm of your imagination. A twisted root, once hidden underground, becomes the stage. Glass jars and cups, once ordinary, now glow with moss, tiny ferns, and blooms delicate as whispers. Together they form a miniature garden, a place that feels almost enchanted, as though fairies might appear at dusk to wander along the root pathways and rest beneath the flowers. This idea is not only magical but also beautifully practical for those with limited space. You don't need a wide yard or endless supplies. A single root branch, a few recycled glass containers, some soil, and plants chosen with care are enough to build this hidden realm. Succulents and moss bring structure, orchids add color, and pebbles or tiny figurines complete the story. Placed in a corner of your patio, on a table, or even on a shelf, the fairy garden becomes a reminder that beauty does not always require size, it requires intention. What makes it truly special is the way it connects creativity with nature. Each time you water the moss, each time you adjust a small stone, you are shaping a universe where life thrives in miniature. And when the sunlight touches the glass, making the greens and colors shine, it feels as though you are witnessing a secret world come alive. In the stillness of your home, this little fairy garden offers something rare, a moment of quiet magic, handcrafted by your own hands.